I'm Irving, and I have no life, just like you.
The Ballad of Irving. Irving. Big fat Irving. Big sport Irving. The 142nd fastest gun in the West.
The F.E.A.R. series is one of the most story-driven games I've ever come across. And what a story it is. This really has just about everything you could want from a psychic horror genre story, plus the outstanding gameplay aspect. I think that's probably why the expansion packs that we saw in F.E.A.R. Files didn't really catch on all that much. They have decent gameplay, but they don't really advance the story. Now you may remember at the end of the second game, I said this.
I want to play the next one, and I want to play it now.
Well, here it is. F.E.A.R. 3. I mean, F3AR. Or is it F3AR? When it's talk like a pirate time, it's F3AR. Hey, you were thinking it too! Okay, let's get to it. You remember from the first game that Alma's first son didn't seem to have a name. Everybody called him Buddy or Hey You or Fella or something like that. In this one, he actually has a name, I think. Or maybe it's a title. They call him Point Man. Point Man? No. No, I don't know why he's called that. Can you imagine going through childhood with a name like that? Might as well give your kid a name like Beat Me Up, middle name Daly. You'll also recall that in the first game he didn't have a face. He still doesn't. He has a beard. Anyway, his ghost brother's name is Paxton Fettle. I can't help wondering where the heck that name came from, too.
Hello, my name is Harlan Wade. My daughters were named Alma Wade and Alice Wade. I put Alma into a coma and artificially impregnated her. Twice. Both times she gave birth to a son. Since the family name is Wade, naturally I named one of them Point Man and the other one Paxton Fettle. This may not make sense to you, but it makes perfect sense to me. My family are gods among men.
You probably already know that there's two basic ways to do this game. You can play it solo as Point Man, or you can play it split-screen co-op with one person playing Point Man and the other playing Paxton Fettle. Now once you play through the single-player game as Point Man, you can go back and play it again as Fettle if you want. I have to be honest, that bonus isn't all that spectacular. Basically you're doing all the exact same stuff except as a different character with slightly different abilities. But hey, it's an excuse to replay the game, and I can replay this game a lot. Still, I have to wonder. This game is pretty well designed for two-player because there's two brothers and they're in a sort of competition. So why doesn't the single-player version include an AI to play the other brother? It doesn't make sense. Other games have done it, so it's not like the technology isn't available. But check this out. This is the beginning of the store level. I'm playing as Fettle. We saw Point Man there during the cutscene, but as soon as we're back to gameplay, he vanished. It doesn't make sense. I'd love to see this redone, or maybe add some DLC that incorporates an AI partner, or something to make it more consistent as a genuine co-op game. As the story opens, somebody has Point Man in custody and they're interrogating him about killing his brother and some other stuff that really doesn't matter to us. But without warning, this happens.
And when we find her, she's gonna bleed.
For some reason, that's all Fettle does for you in this first level. You're on your own fighting your way out of this place. As you go along, you're learning the controls and getting a handle on some of the other things you can do. You have any number of challenges. Do this thing a certain number of times and you get an accomplishment that gives you points. I'll explain the purpose of the points in a moment. Weapon-wise, a few old friends are back, like grenades that explode instantly on contact with an enemy.
Get eyes on the target!
We also learn that we can approach certain bodies and do what's called a psychic link. Here's one of those. You probably noticed that I already have some fairly high numbers in some of those challenges. That's because what you've done in previous games carries over to the next one unless you sign in with a different profile. Once again, bear in mind that I'm doing this on the Xbox 360. I don't know if this happens in the PC version or other systems or not. Feel free to find out and let me know. I have to admit that I usually don't pay all that much attention to that sort of thing, but for this review I tried to look a little more closely. Another thing you'll notice is the text on the screen can be impossibly small. That seems to be a trend in games, and I suspect it has to do with the whole HD TV thing. I don't like it, but it's the wave of the future. It's really hard to read things on my regular definition TV, but it's equally hard to read in captured form like we're doing here. There's not much I can do about it, so if there's something crucial to the review, I'll try to either read it aloud or put it on the screen in bigger type. Let's move on. You can stop that now. I said stop! Are we clear? Thank you. The game is fairly linear. I don't mind that as long as it's a good game, and this one qualifies. The bad guys are as talkative as ever and as profound as ever.
God, son of a...
Son of a big hit. What exactly is a hit?
Ahem.
I had to ask.
Indeed. According to the Dictionary of Urban Slang, the term hill refers to one who is either so visually unappealing or socially inept that said person's very presence induces nausea.
So, you.
I find your crass insults quite unsurprising. Personal attacks are the eternal bastion of the small-minded.
Speaking of small minds, on we go.
Where the fuck did it go? Fuck! Get to cover!
Make up your mind. Do you want me to get to cover or that other thing you said?
Just flew off his fucking arm!
He does that with his arm? That's just weird. Fair warning to the sensitive, they like that word a lot. I know it's supposed to be adult language, but to me it always sounds like a bunch of teenagers playing "What can we get away with?" You fight your way on through the place until you reach a cutscene where Paxton comes to the rescue.
I gave you life. I mold you, create you. You will fear me as you once did.
That's the end of that level, interval, and we get a summary screen. Here's where those points come in. Part of it's just bragging rights, but notice this. This is the real purpose of the points, to determine which of you is Alma's favorite. Why is that important? Because the game has two different endings, and which one you get is dependent on who's the favorite. You get one ending if Pointman is the favorite, and another if Paxton Fettel is the favorite. And now we see why it's better to do this game with two players. In single player mode, there's not much competition for who's the favorite son. In split screen, you and the other player are basically in a competition to see who can rack up more points and be the favorite. It adds a dimension to the game that you just can't duplicate in single player mode. So at this point, Natorni is going to join me and we'll do the rest of this review in two-player mode.
Arma camp cleanup crews are killing everyone they find. I'm hiding in the F.E.A.R. underground tunnels. I can't make it out of here on my own.
I agree we must escape, but for her...
We start with the same cutscene where Fettel takes possession of one of the guards and frees Pointman. But the escape is very different this time. The two brothers, which is to say the two players, are working together to take out the bad guys and get out of this place.
This is one of the funnest moves. Fettel psychically suspends an enemy mid-air so both players can blast away at them in their own way. Here is one of my favorite things to do though.
Let me go! No!
F.E.A.R can possess enemies temporarily and fight much the same way Point Man does.
But the best part about it is this.
Let me go! No!
And when he's done with the body, this happens. Ew. And he can also temporarily shield his brother from harm.
Oh shit, he's loose!
So you get to the end of the level, and now we see how the points work in a two-player setting. Expect that to happen most of the time. If you're Point Man, go for the psychic links and try to find the Alma dolls like this one.
Those things carry the most points, but the challenges do seem to be weighted in F.E.A.R's favor. F.E.A.R has more abilities than Point Man does. He has the Hangman ability, the Possession ability, and the Shield ability, and on top of it all, when an enemy dies, he can harvest their energy to remain in a body longer, while Point Man's just Point Man. He has the enhanced reflexes, and that's about it.
Still, try the game several times and see how it goes. For now, let's move on. It seems like you're staying just ahead of them when suddenly you get bashed in the noggin and they have you. That's how Alma protects her boys.
Wait, that's not Alma.
That mother?
Through the sewers battling bad guys. Who are these bad guys and why are they trying to take us down? I think they're Armacam soldiers, but it isn't really telling us. Eventually, you see that the uniform does have the Armacam logo on it. Okay, if they're with Armacam, they're bad guys in every sense of the word. As the Marines say, kill them all, let God sort them out. Once we get to the surface, we realize that they have a helicopter. So we...
F.E.A.R, that is.
Decide we're going to appropriate it. Now it's one big fight through this slum to get to it. But at a certain point, we hear this.
Chopper Echo 2-4, deliver remaining payload to LZ-1 Beta to support Phasecaster.
Phasecaster. What's that mean?
Oh, we're about to find out.
Get your fucking right hand!
No way. Well, we take him out anyway. Then we notice this guy. He looks an awful lot like the random blippy guys, or RBGs, from the first game. Only he's got a much better weapon now. He doesn't just run up and slap you. It's going to take a lot to bring him down. At this point in our playthrough, Point Man has a sniper rifle and it can do a little damage, but not enough. F.E.A.R is holding him up in the air so Point Man can shoot him, but the shots aren't doing enough damage. Here's one solution.
The actual plan had been to shoot him into tiny little pieces, but considering how close I was to him, I decided to just beat the crap out of him instead. I don't care that it wasn't the original plan, it worked!
So you get to the chopper and it's level complete. Sorry, interval complete. On we go. Some kind of wave hits the chopper and it crashes, setting up the next interval. This one is called store.
I can't imagine why.
This interval really illustrates how linear the game is, a lot more than the previous ones were. This place is like working a maze, but there's generally only one way to get from point A to point B. Hey, I'll bet that's why they call him Point Man.
There's a lot of weirdness as you go through this maze, including apparently an elephant. So the maze lets out in this big area with tons of TVs, and things are starting to get a little hairy.
Make no mistake, we are being hunted.
That's for sure. But what's hunting us? We've seen a few furtive shadows that reminded me of the red-eyed freaks from the F.E.A.R. files, but we haven't seen any actual creatures yet.
I have a feeling that's gonna change right about...
Huh? When did this turn into a zombie game? At least F.E.A.R. can possess them, though somebody got a little overzealous at times.
When he possesses one of these guys, F.E.A.R. can use whatever weapon they happen to have on hand.
If I had a hammer, I'd a hammer in the morning, I'd a hammer in the evening.
So there. As you battle your way through, these guys appear.
Explosives strapped to the chests. I would take care to keep them at a distance, brother.
Okay, that's way beyond crazy.
If you shoot the bomb when they're far enough away, they explode harmlessly, kind of like the suicide grunts in Halo Reach. If they're a little closer...
Ouch! And of course, F.E.A.R. is useful against them too, as we saw.
I think they learned their language from Bobby Boris Pickett.
Who?
Basic gameplay, clear through the level until you get to a door where you hear some soldiers about to breach. Take them down, go out, and you encounter this.
The blast must have fried their brains. However, there's something about their behavior I admire. Their taste for violence. These are not the simple scrawls of madmen. They are meant to be a message, I think. Come, brother. I'm beginning to think something tremendous is happening.
He said the blast must have fried their brains. What blast are we talking about? The one from the end of the first game that Point Man triggered by destroying the power plant in Armacam's vault? What was in that blast that could do this to several hundred people? At least we learned they're not really zombies, they're just collective nutcases with homicidal tendencies.
Oh, well that's a relief. The interval ends as you exit the building.
Attention citizens. Please report immediately to the nearest Armacam patrol and you will be escorted to a secure location out of the city. Please remain calm. Armacam personnel are here to assist you.
Armacam isn't fooling anyone. They have no intentions of leaving any survivors. Can't afford any witnesses.
Where are you rats hiding? You maggots always have a place to hide. Now where is it?
Playtime, brother.
As F.E.A.R. says, playtime. You're trying to find Jin from the first game. Every so often she comes on the radio and asks if anybody can hear her, says she has vital information. So your job is to rescue her. F.E.A.R. doesn't like the idea, but he doesn't have much choice. You fight through the usual bad guys, and the dialogue is as stirring as ever.
Why don't you come out where I can... God
Come out where I can gotcha. I'm sorry, only my wife is allowed to gotcha me. We've added a few keep up with the Joneses goodies to the gameplay, like destructible cover, but for the most part it's the great non-stop action battling that we've come to expect from F.E.A.R games. Along the way, you destroy one of those mechanized things.
Got another one down! What up? Over the butcher!
There's crazies in the way, too. Next thing you know, you get to drive one. Can I just say...
I want that.
My birthday is July 20th, Christmas is December 25th, but International Whale Watching Week will do. Just get me one.
Bad guys aren't the only thing that this thing can blow up.
But it gets better. This thing also has a giant laser. Watch this. Oh yeah, but all too soon you have to leave it.
Which is fine with me, because I didn't get to drive it. I had to walk alongside and watch while you had all the fun.
There.
Enemy sighted!
Now you're fighting a zillion bad guys in this power station, and once you get past that and through a couple of buildings, you have to deal with bad guys blipping in from these electrical things. It gets a little confusing.
In other news, heat is hot. Expect this to happen often.
Yes, when one of you goes down, the other has the ability to come over and heal him. Just try to make sure the bad guys aren't too numerous before you do. Finally, you reach Jin.
His name is Michael Beckett, Delta Squad. Apparently, he got himself mixed up with Armacam's secret project. Alma.
See, family, as I've been telling you all along, brother.
Aha! So we're starting to pull all these threads together. This is the guy from F.E.A.R 2.
Horrible. Great to me. Do you hear me, Armacam? She's fucking pregnant!
She what?
So that means at the end of F.E.A.R 2, when she had him feel her abdomen to show she was pregnant, she wasn't just telling him, I'm pregnant. She was telling him, I'm pregnant with your baby. Wow. Just, wow.
But she's dead, right?
According to the story, she's been dead for a very long time.
But, and all that's left is insane psychic energy driven by hate.
Pretty much.
So how did she...
We had this talk when you were 12.
You know what I mean.
Here's my definitive answer.
I'll tell you. I don't know.
That's it?
Yep.
So this really is just like the talk we had when I was 12.
Really? I don't know how this came about. It might have something to do with the psychic amplifier that Beckett was in.
Or maybe the writers just pulled the whole thing out of their butts.
It makes for a good game. On we go. You have to go through some areas with security gates and deal with the occasional sniper. Once you take the sniper out, Point Man can go up and use the rifle while Fettel possesses somebody and has fun down below. One of the really neat things about playing split screen is being able to see stuff like this from different viewpoints.
I like it.
Most of the next part is basic gameplay, but at a couple of points we really get to see what Alma's birth contractions are doing to the city. We also encounter another Blippi guy. Once you take him out, a mechanized armor drops in. The best thing to do is find the Blippi guy's laser and use it against the armor. I decided to hang on to the laser after that part was done, and it was handy that I did. Further on, we encountered another Blippi guy, and I was able to use the laser on him.
The really cool thing is that when the laser takes the Blippi guy's shield down, F.E.A.R can possess him.
And at one point, we have two at a time.
If you're playing as F.E.A.R, here is a really cool way to take them out.
You rescue Jin from one of those kabillion containers, and she leads you to the next step in the journey.
Under no circumstances can Alma be allowed to give birth. And if she does, destroy it. Kill it immediately.
Something just occurred to me. They keep telling us this, but nobody's told us why. What happens if she gives birth? What is it? I keep hoping we'll find out, but so far it's all just vague orders. She leads you to an Armacham evacuation plane and takes off, but the disturbances from Alma are messing with the planes, so she has to crash land quite a distance from their goal. Jin has told you to get to the tower, but the only way to get there is across this bridge. Unfortunately, it's guarded by demon puppies?
Okay, who brought the dog?
There's a lot of non-combat time on this bridge, but the F.E.A.R series has always been part puzzle in addition to the action and horror stuff. This is one of those because you have to figure out how to work your way through these wrecked train cars, yet more of the unholy mess that your explosion caused. And now it's being compounded by Alma's contractions. A couple of times you have to go up on top and fight soldiers. Grenades are frequently useful here. I managed to rack up a bunch of challenges for taking out 3 and 4 bad guys with a single grenade. And part of the reason is because I try to aim for explosive barrels that you can find here and there around the field of play. One thing I haven't talked about, or maybe it's two, I'm not sure. At random times during your journey, this happens.
Okay. And at other times, this happens.
You believe she is innocent, frightened. She is nothing but rage, out of control.
That voice is your grandfather, Harlan Wade.
Didn't Alma kill him towards the end of the first game? What is going on here?
Wade keeps making weird speeches like that, but it makes as much sense as the names he gave to the boys.
Your tiny mind could never grasp it because my family are gods among men.
Right. Moving on. Jin has learned that Armacham has Beckett at the airport and they're getting ready to relocate him. So we have to fight our way through the airport and get to him before they do. On the way, you get to play with some more powered armor again. If Fettel has a body, he can also grab one. The extra firepower really comes in handy. You have to deal with some pretty impressive enemies.
When you catch up with Beckett, you see this.
I told you everything. Just leave me be. Who are you? Who are you? What do you want?
Allow me. This will kill him.
This is a really long cutscene, and true to the world we've created, Beckett explodes a while after Fettel has possessed him. But by possessing him, Fettel has gotten what information Beckett knew about Alma's situation.
Then suddenly we see the brothers as children encountering Alma on a playground. I'll be honest, I spent a lot of time in these cutscenes asking, what the heck is going on? There's a lot in this story that I really don't follow. But at the beginning of the next interval, we see this.
We called him the Creep, remember? I wanted to kill him, stick a knife into his heart. Instead, making me feel like I was the monster. He was the monster. There it is. You're not afraid of the Creep, are you? Follow me, unless you want to stay here alone.
Okay, question number 1, where are we?
Question number 2, how the hell did we get here?
Answers? I have no clue, and...
I have no clue.
Just go with it.
And just go with it.
Okay, we're in the house where Wade did his experiments on us. Fettel says this.
He is here. We must destroy the terrible memories of this place, and of him.
So that weird thing coming after us is a memory? But it's doing serious damage to us. I don't get it.
Again. Move! Faster!
It was here that he pushed us to our limits.
Okay, so there's a memory in here that we need to destroy. There it is, glowing nice and red so we can find it. We destroy the memory how? We push the button and find out that we destroy the memory by ripping a bucket in half?
On to a lab of some kind where you tear a book in half to destroy another memory, and then to somewhere else where you destroy some kind of gun. Now it's time to face Harlan himself.
This fight is weird. You have to take him down 3 times, of course, and in between he sends ghost soldiers after you. But if they're ghosts, how come they have guns that shoot real bullets and you can pick up their guns and shoot the real bullets back at them?
And to top it all off, Fettel can possess them. If they're ghosts, how can he do that?
Anyway, the 3rd time you weaken him to the point where he's about done and you get this.
Now, brother, destroy him.
So Fettel says destroy him now. You shoot him in the right place and he rips his own face off? But then you see this.
My children, Alma, you were to be my legacy, but you are all monsters.
I really don't understand any of this. But this clears the way to Alma. And finally we get to our pregnant mother and holy cow!
Beckett did that?
The game is over now. It's just a matter of figuring out who won.
What are you doing? Has family never meant anything to you? Are you going to continue to follow the orders of that woman, or stay true to your own blood?
I've been waiting for this moment, brother. You killed me once before. I promise you, it won't be so easy a second time.
Which ending you get depends on who won. We've pretty well agreed that the challenges are kind of unfairly stacked in favor of Fettel in the 2-player version, so if you want to see the ending where Point Man wins, do single player. Both endings are more than a little strange and almost leave the door open for more. It's hard to tell. But watch to the end of the credits because there's a bonus after them. Overall, this game is geared a lot more toward action than the previous ones, especially at the expense of the puzzle aspects of the first game. Story-wise, I have to say it's just weird. I'm not sure I really understood most of what was going on, and I wasn't crazy about either of the 2 possible endings. But I give it full credit for being true to its universe. In the F.E.A.R world, ghosts can take damage from bullets and grenades. I don't know why, but it's been a consistent thing through all the games and add-ons. Sadly, that's not something you see that often in a series like this. So very well done, F.E.A.R. The story doesn't make a lick of sense and I love it. It has really good graphics, characters that you can care about, the gameplay is smooth and intuitive, and there are several ways you can play it so replay value is high. Fettel is as creepy as ever and that's one of the most fun aspects of the game. We can nitpick about plot holes, things that are never explained and all that, but I really don't see the point. It's a good wrap-up to an excellent franchise, so get yourself copies of the whole shebang and immerse yourself in this bizarre, thoroughly enjoyable world. If nothing else, it beats the hell out of Facebook.
As for me, I love the F.E.A.R. games just as much as Irving and have played them just as much as, if not more than, him. My favorite thing about the entire series is that nearly every character has a truly understandable reason for being the way they are, with the exception of Harlan. Each game has just enough horror to action to story ratio that even someone like me who hates horror could still enjoy it. The third game did fall a little flat in the way it funneled the character through each interval, but the story was so compelling I just didn't care. And that is why this series is always going to be one of my favorites.
I'm Irving.
And I'm Natorni.
And we have no life, just like you.
Well, finally, Irving got 3 slugs in the belly. It was right outside the Frontier Deli. He was sitting there twirling his gun around, and Butterfingers Irving gunned himself down. Irving. Big fat Irving. Big dum-dum Irving. Big dum-dum dead Irving. The 142nd fastest gun in the West.